Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Jacinta Warakai Manuel, the Secretary of the Department of International Trade and Investment. I'd like to first begin by acknowledging the people of Gadiga from the Eora Nation, the traditional owner of the land that we are in today. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge their past, present, and emerging leaders. I'm going to be speaking today a little bit about ADB and the work that we do in Papua New Guinea, particularly in the context of infrastructure. Let me see how I can move the slides. Is it this one? Okay. And okay, very good. All right. Thank you. So ADB is a multilateral development bank. We are based in Manila with 69 member economies. PNG has been a member since 1971. We've established our office in Port Moresby since 2003. And currently, we are among the largest development partner, particularly in lending terms, with a portfolio of around $1.4 billion US. We focus on, among other things, transport connectivity, energy, human capital development, and public sector management. We are expanding that focus now to agriculture as well as health and, human capital development will cover health and education, but we're also looking now to support agriculture and water as well. How do we optimize our added value? How do we create value? We provide financing and also mobilizing funds from other sources. And I'll show some examples of how we do that. We would also like to think of ourselves as a knowledge bank, and obviously we promote dialogue and collaborations among various partners and stakeholders, and all with the intent of maximizing the development impact of our member countries. Now, in terms of financing, there's a lot of assumption that ADB focuses on sovereign financing. That's not entirely accurate, because we do also work on non-sovereign operations or private sector. We have a dedicated private sector operation department that basically looks into providing support, providing financing to privately held and state-sponsored companies across a wide-ranging industry sectors. And then we also have a public-private partnership team that basically looks at how we can support member countries to generate private sector investments in delivery of public services for the country. And our support is typically done through some form of transaction advisory support. And I'll mention a little bit on how we do that in PNG context. So I'll start very quickly on the sovereign modality. So you'll see my slides are quite a lot, and this is more for you to be able to then download and sort of have that as a reference point. But I'll go very quickly, and I'll probably skip some of the items reflected in the slides, and just sort of highlight the key points. So basically, when we say sovereign, ADB provides sovereign. We do that through investment projects. So that's the bricks and mortars, if you like, the hard knocks, the hardwoods, and so forth. And we do that across a number of different sectors. But ADB also provides policy-based lending. This is a budget support that we do. As you know, some countries, basically, including PNG, still has some level of budget deficit, and that budget deficit typically to plug that in, you either go to the market or you go to seek financing from development partners such as ADB. And the result-based lending, this is basically a mix of the investment project and policy-based lending. There's not much of that going on in PNG context. It's more investment project and policy-based lending that we do in the country. These are just the list of ADB active portfolio. As you can see, it sort of covers a number of different sectors, including particularly our flagship projects is the Sustainable Highland Highway Investment Program and KADIP, the Civil Aviation Development Investment Project, where we have supported 21 out of 22 airports in the country in one way or the other. Sustainable Highland Highway is basically the work that we're doing to construct a 2-lane highway, rehabilitate and construct in some places 450 kilometer of 2-lane highway from Leh up to Mount Hagen. And then we're also very much involved in the energy sector to our power sector development project, but we've also done other work in the sector, and I'll explain a little bit about that as well. For 2024, we are working on the Sustainable Highland Region Core Road Network project and strengthening public sector management program. This is on the sovereign lending. On the non-sovereign, we are providing financing to Air Niugini on their refleeting program. But in 2025, as you can see, our support will be quite varied. We'll be supporting the energy sector. We'll be looking at also the road sector, trying to complete the current work that we're doing on the Highland Highway. We're also working on urban water supply and sanitation security project. This is basically enhancing water security for people in Port Moresby and in Vanimo for now. And then financial resilience and inclusion sector development program. This is, among other things, to support providing more, providing some support to the government, particularly including addressing the most recent, mutual evaluation report that was endorsed by the APG Asia Pacific Group on anti-money laundering, where there have been quite a number of strategic deficiencies identified in that mutual evaluation report. We're also doing other things in the sector to basically generate more financial inclusion. I mean, as you know, there are only 35% of people in PNG that are banks. So we're trying to sort of work on improving the financial sector in the country, hoping to have that approved. These projects approved next year. The Climate Resilient Transport Project Readiness Facility is a financing facility to be able to support us in providing a number of projects in the country, particularly on doing the detailed engineering design and so forth. And again, there'll be a little bit of details on that in the coming slides. So I'll go very quickly. ADB support in the transport sector. I've mentioned on our support on the SIP, on the CADIP. We have we're now at present, we're supporting 5 national airports. These are Kiunga, Gurney, Aropa, Hoskins in West New Britain. We just signed the contract for that last Friday, and then WEWAC. We're also working on supporting the air navigation and weather services, as well as 4 rural airstrips in the country, and also strengthening the capacity and capability of the civil aviation institutions, particularly NAC, as well as New Sky. We're also, I mentioned about the PRN, Project Readiness Financing, that we're looking to support for a number of upcoming projects. So Sustainable Highland Region Core Road Network project that we're hoping to have this approved by tomorrow is basically to support the improvement of 5 district roads, totaling about 120 kilometers and 19 bridges in 4 provinces in Highland. So we've been supporting the Highland Highway. Now we're supporting 5 roads connected to that district roads, as well as to implement a comprehensive social, gender, and livelihood program, to the people in that area. So we're hoping that by having this project, we won't just improve the road connectivity, but also the livelihood and economic status of the female in the area, as well as the capacity of our executing agency, Department of Works and Highways. In terms of future support, we're going to continue to rehabilitate and effectively maintain the Chile National Highway from Lei Najab Airport to Kagamuga Airport in Mount Hagen. That's a 430-kilometer of road. We're also looking at supporting coastal road improvement and resilient program. This is from Wutung to WEWAC, as well as the improvement of the ports of Vanimo and WEWAC, and then also the Bulolo Junction to Nintendo, and then the Mountainous Road Improvement and Resilience Project, basically to improve 12 provincial roads in the Highland. We have another phase of CADIP that we're hoping to go online next year, in 2026. Again, this is basically trying to work on the airports that can support the refleeting program of Air Niugini that we're financing through our private sector arm. ADB support in the energy sector. My colleague who's responsible for the energy sector is here, Peter Baum. Now we basically have a number of, our more recent support in the energy sector is basically town electrification investment program. There we've constructed 3 megawatt of Divone hydropower plant, and also the Port Moresby power grid development project. You can see in the slides later the details with regards to that. We have now an ongoing project basically in the energy sector, which is the power sector development project, and we're looking to construct 8 new substations. This includes Motokwa and Malahang, upgrade 3 substations and 3 new switch yards across Port Moresby, Ramu, and Gazelle. So basically, Port Moresby, late to Mount Hagen, and West New Britain. And then constructions over 1,185 kilometers of PDM and low voltage lines, as well as connect 10,000 new households. Now, in terms of our future pipeline, this is what I'm quite excited about, is we have the Sustainable Energy Sector Development Program, and our first sub-program will be in 2025. So we're really working with the government to sort of improve the policy, the enabling policy environment to be able to promote, more sustainable energy delivery in the country. As you know, there are a number of issues in this sector. One of the main challenges of the government is how to be able to deliver electricity to 70% of the households, as by 2030. This is reflected in their MTDP4, the Medium-Term Development Plan. Currently, it's less than 20%. So there's a huge gap. So we're trying to sort of work with NEA, National Energy Authority, as well as PPL, to address some of this. And some of the areas of reforms that we're sort of working with includes how to improve sector planning, how to do better reporting on the CO2 emission, the tariff regulation. As you know, tariff has become an issue. There hasn't been a tariff increase since 2013 in the country. The PPA guidelines to make it more workable. And then there's no use to have a PPA where the IPPs are being told they're going to be getting a certain amount of payment, but and then you're not able to sort of pass on that cost to the consumer, and therefore things don't work as effectively as they could be. And then technical standards for solar PV rooftops, and also measures to ensure PPL's financial sustainability. And so that's the budget support, and then we have also the project component, basically to address the urgent grid repairs in Ramu and Port Moresby, as well as repair and upgrade of provincial networks in Wewak and KVA. We're also working with the Japanese government as well as the EU in this regard. Again, this is part of us mobilizing financing from other sources, not just relying entirely on ADB financing. And we're looking at a second sub-program in 2026, 2027. ADB support in public sector management. So we have one of our landmark programs, the SOE reform program that we did from 2020 to 2022. But we're also now looking at public sector sectoring program, working with the Auditor General Office, with ICAC, as well as working with the SOE, Ministry of SOE and KCH in terms of strengthening the SOE's governance capability. Now, we've spoken a lot about the sovereign, but I'll just go very quickly. On the non-sovereign side, we also, in one balance sheet, we can provide sovereign and non-sovereign. On the non-sovereign side, we can provide debt, we can provide guarantees, we can provide equity investment, as well as technical assistance. Now, in PNG, I have to be very frank, we haven't done much in the non-sovereign space. We can do more. We have an equity investment in telecommunication network. We also have equity investment in securities firm, and we've just done a loan for pre-delivery payment of the national air carrier that was approved in 2024. We now have an in-country international staff dedicated for our private sector operations. How can ADB work with the private sector? We can do it in a number of ways. I should mention, preface by saying that our work in the sector is market-based. So we're not planning to crowd out the private sector by giving cheap loans to the private sector. This is going to be market-based, but our added value is that we can create an enabling environment, and we can crowd in private financing because we have only a certain percentage of the project cost that we can cover. And these are just some of the eligible transactions and ADB additionalities, which again you can read in details when you download the presentation. PPP, I'll go very quick in this. I'm mindful that my time is up. The last capability that we have is that we can work with the contracting entity, typically public sector, but also SOEs, basically to help them prepare transaction advisory, to assist them in designing, preparing, and tendering PPP projects. We do that through transaction advisory service to ensure appropriate risk allocation, bankability, and value for money for the public sector. We can also provide post-commercial close support for contract management and project monitoring to ensure successful implementation of the PPP projects. A couple of examples that we've done in the country. Ones that we've sort of worked on establishing the PPP center. Now it's under finance, but we worked initially with the Department of Treasury in this, and then one of the things that we're working on now is basically with NAC on the Port Moresby International Airport PPP. This is to help them basically identify an operator to operate the airport, including the airside and land side of the airport. And doing this types of structure the transactions in a way that would be bankable and of interest to the private sector. So again, we do a lot on the sovereign. We're doing. We want to do more on the private sector, but we also have something in the pipeline or in the work on the PPP side. So I guess in conclusion, I just wanted to sort of say that from ADB side, we're very privileged to be a close development partner of the government, and we again like to sort of reiterate our commitment to continue to work with the government, with the private sector, and with other stakeholders to be able to help PNG in achieving their development goals and to navigate the development trajectory. So we've been here since 1971 or since 2003 in terms of office, and we're here to stay. Thank you.